I'm going to ask you a simple question, but I want an honest answer. You have a gold bar in one hand, in the other, a line of code. Which one is more valuable? You probably said gold. Most people do, but here's what I'm curious about. Why? Because gold is shiny, heavy, because you can touch it? This is exactly where something very interesting lies. That thing we call value was never actually in the object itself. It was always in our minds. It was always an agreement. And the terms of that agreement have changed radically throughout history. In this video, I'm going to tell you this: how humanity's understanding of value evolved, how physical reality slowly got left behind in this story, and why digital scarcity is rewriting all the rules today. This is going to be a tight video. If you're ready, let's begin. Let's go back to very ancient times. Thousands of years ago, people were trading, but there was no such thing as money. So what was there? Stuff, real, tangible, things you could hold. In China, there was bamboo, strong, light, versatile, used for construction, tools, fuel. It was valuable because it was useful. In Mesopotamia, there was barley. In Egypt, wheat. Around the world, salt was so critical that Roman soldiers received their wages in salt. Even the word salary comes from this, from the Latin salarium, meaning salt money. What do all these have in common? You can hold them, you can smell them, you can see them. Value was synonymous with physical existence. And this made perfect sense, because in that world, if something was scarce and useful, it was valuable. A simple equation: nature's limits determined scarcity. You can't grow unlimited bamboo. You can't mine unlimited salt. Nature drew a ceiling for you and you played beneath that ceiling. But then something happened. People found a smarter solution. This is too heavy to carry. This is too risky to store. What should we do? And metal stepped onto the stage. Gold, silver, copper. When we moved to these, something changed. Value began to drift away from the question, how useful is this object to me? You can't eat gold. You can't build a house with gold. Gold won't protect you from the cold. But everyone believed gold was valuable. And that belief was enough. Pay attention. This is a very important breaking point. Gold is one of the first great examples of carrying exchange value without use value, meaning you wanted gold not for its direct benefit to you, but because others also believed in its value. But it was still physical. You could still touch it. You could still count it. You could still swallow it if necessary. There were people in history who did this, but that's a separate topic. Then paper money arrived, and this time things got really strange. A bank gave you a piece of paper and said, this paper is equivalent to this much gold. And you believed it. Why? Because the state stood behind it. Because everyone believed it. Because the system worked. And in 1971, when Nixon decoupled the US dollar from the gold standard, meaning the dollar was no longer tied to physical gold, the world simply shrugged and moved on. Why? Because gold no longer mattered. Trust did. This is the point where the equation value equals physical thing effectively collapsed. But most of us didn't even notice. Now let's come to more recent times. The 1990s, 2000s. The internet arrives, everything goes digital, music, film, books, all turning into bits and bytes. And a terrible problem emerged here. You can copy a digital file infinite times. Download an MP3, copy it, distribute it, cost is zero. Share a photo, send a song. Scarcity ceases to exist. You remember Napster, right? Or if you don't, ask your grandfather. The music industry was devastated because a digital copy was indistinguishable from the original. When scarcity disappeared, value flew away too. And in that era, many people thought digital things can never be truly valuable because they can be copied infinitely. This was logical. For the technology of that time, it was correct. But then in 2008, while the world's greatest financial crisis was unfolding, someone or some people whose identity remains unknown published a white paper, Satoshi Nakamoto, Bitcoin. And that white paper shattered the thesis that digital things cannot be made scarce. We need to pause here because this is the part that confuses people the most. What Bitcoin did is very simple, but at the same time a wildly revolutionary idea: guarantee digital scarcity through mathematics. How? through a structure called the blockchain. Let me explain briefly. Imagine a ledger, but this ledger isn't kept in one place. It's held simultaneously on millions of computers. And when something is written in this ledger, to erase or change it, you'd need to trick all those millions of computers at the same time. This is mathematically near impossible. And Bitcoin's total supply? 21 million. Period. Satoshi embedded this in the code. A central bank can't stand up and say, let's print a little more. A government can't decide at midnight to increase the supply. The rule was written into mathematics beyond human will. What does this mean? Scarcity is no longer a product of nature. Scarcity is now a programmable feature. Bamboo was scarce because growing it took time. Gold was scarce because there was a limited amount in the Earth's crust. Bitcoin is scarce because it was written that way. The difference is this: we develop technology to overcome nature's scarcity. But to overcome cryptographic scarcity, you need to disprove mathematics. And nobody has managed to do that yet. And it doesn't look like anyone will anytime soon. Now let's take a step back and look at the big picture. We went from bamboo to gold, from utility value to trust value. We went from gold to paper money, from physical value to institutional trust. We're moving from paper money to digital money, from institutional trust to mathematical guarantee. At every step, there's an abstraction. At every step, we move a little further from physical reality. And at every step, people said, this isn't real, this is nonsense. When paper money first appeared, people in China mocked it as flying money. But the system worked. Today when we hear NFT, we say, this is just a JPEG, why would I pay for it? But think about it. Why is a Picasso painting valuable? Just canvas and paint. Its value lies in its authenticity and the collective belief in that authenticity. An NFT is a certificate of authenticity in the digital world. You can like it or not, but the idea itself is consistent. The real point is this: value was always an agreement. And the foundation of that agreement didn't have to be physical. Trust was enough. It always was. I want to ask you this. Why is the paper money in your wallet today valuable? Because the state said so. Because we all accepted it. There's no gold behind it, no silver, just trust. What if one day people decided to move that trust into a mathematical system? They already are. Slowly, but they are. This journey of the concept of value isn't over. It started with bamboo. It's currently evolving inside lines of code. In 50 years, people might laugh. Those people used to carry paper around. Isn't that strange? Throughout history, every generation has thought their understanding of value was universal. Every generation was wrong. Maybe we're wrong too. Maybe we're on exactly the right path. But this one thing I know for certain. Value was never in the object. It lived in our minds, in our agreements, in our trust. And trust has become programmable. Think about it.